Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Ratitude Podcast. I'm so excited. I've been gone for much of the summer, but one of the things that I did this summer, I went on this sailboat trip in Sicily, and our guest today, Nicolas Kimaz, was on this sailboat trip through Sicily, and I've known him before through the Platinum Partnerships at Tony Robbins, but not really too well. But we got to know each other really well during the sailboat because you're living in like a space about this big, and we had such beautiful experiences. And this is a beautiful man that has done so many interesting things in life. He's just a beautiful soul, and I'm not sure where this podcast is going to go because there's so many interesting topics that we could talk about. But first of all, let's welcome Dr. Nicolas Kimaz to the Ratitude Podcast.
Oh, thank you, Robert. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
I want to start, Nicolas, with your background from where you came from to the United States, because there's just so many interesting things about you that I think our audience is going to really, really love. So tell us a little bit about whatever you want to share with us about where you came from, what influences you had, how that impacted your life, up to getting to the United States. And we'll talk about in the United States later.
Well, I was born in Lebanon. I'm Lebanese, and was born in a town called Zahli in a valley. So, at that time, the world was still without liquidity. So people still were like trying to make it in life. Then at a young age, at around 13 years old, we had a civil war. So all of a sudden, I became a soldier in a civil war, defending, my faith, my life, my country. And that lasted about 5 years until I was 18 years old. At that time, at age 18, by the grace of God, I was able to come to the U.S., immigrate to the U.S. My, childhood was a beautiful childhood, as most children. My family was not rich, not poor, not even middle class. I don't know what we're going to call that, but we lived a good life. I studied in school French and Arabic. Those were the two main languages. I had experience in French, but I did not know English at all. So I immigrated here. I tried to learn English, but it didn't work out. Then I took a tiny class, So I immigrated to the U.S. With two foreign languages and didn't even speak the language. That was back in 1978, April 16.
How did you decide at 18 to come to the United States? Did you come with family? Did you come by yourself? What was the circumstances?
No, all alone. But I was... somehow when I was young, I felt I was influenced by television, especially Disney, to come to that I want to come to the States. And in the meantime, we had aunts and uncles that have immigrated to this country, some in the early 1900s and some in the 40s and 50s. So I had two aunts and an uncle. An aunt that lived in California, in LA, and one lived in Massachusetts, Boston, and the uncle who had passed, but his family lived in Alabama. So I had one of these three choices, but then I was influenced to come to California because it's for better weather,
better weather than Boston or Alabama?
So I arrived to LA back in 1978.
Uh-huh. I mean, you didn't speak English?
No, not a word.
Okay.
I remember I have a funny story, when, it was even like the first time not out of the country, out of my hometown.
Oh, wow.
Because for 5 years, we lived the Civil War. So,
yes.
So it wasn't fun. I flew on Air France. And when I got to Paris and we got on a plane, it was a 747 and the plane was empty. I mean, literally empty. It had like 40, 50 girls from Downey High.
Oh,
And I was the only young guy there. There was a few older men, and among all these young girls, and they're all like my age or 1 year younger. And here I am sitting among them. They're all talking to me, and I did not know what was going on. So that was my very first experience to get to know the taste of Americans. So been on that plane. So when we got to LA, I had lips that are so big from kissing,
ah, wow.
and I had never kissed before.
Wow.
And a bunch of phone numbers, and I didn't speak the language.
Wow. Welcome to California in the United
Yes,
States, huh?
I loved it. I loved it. I thought that was the most amazing, biggest gift ever for a young
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. So you come to the United States, and what happens? You don't speak English. You have to learn, obviously. But what did you do?
The very first 2 weeks, I would sit at my aunt's in front of the television trying to listen to the news to see if I could figure out the language.
Yeah.
I couldn't pick one single word.
Yeah.
And that really, I felt really horrible to a point that I started crying, knowing that how could I learn a language that I couldn't even get one single word from someone what they're talking about. I went to, there was a library nearby, and they taught English there. They had a program, and I was their very first student. So I went there for, about a couple of months, and that's how I learned. Within 30 to 40 days, I got the language because I had decided need to learn. So I remember they gave me 12 books, like book one, book two. I finished them in 2 days because they're similar to French, so I was hungry, and I was like, I wanted to learn. So within 30 to 40 days, I was able to speak.
That's amazing. I didn't speak English going to kindergarten, and I don't remember it, but somehow you're in kindergarten and you learn the language, when you're forced to learn language.
Yes. And I gave one of the girls a call who I met on the plane. And she came down to see me because she couldn't believe that was me speaking English, that she met me a few months back, and I wasn't, not even a word. And now I'm able to speak to her. So yes, it was an amazing time. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what did you do? Did you go to school? Did you go to work?
I wanted to go to school. Then after that, I went to an English school called, I remember, ELS in downtown LA. When I got here, all I had is $600. So I paid $400 for the school, the English school, after the 2 months. And then I was left, and the 200 I spent them, just going back and forth. And I ran out of money. So I had to go to work. So I found a job at a dishwashing and worked there for a couple of weeks, but they didn't pay me. So I quit. Then I found a job at a gas station, and also they didn't pay me for 2 weeks. I worked, and they refused to pay me.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. It's just funny things how, knowing that I was young and a student, and, so people take advantage. Then I found another job at a gas station, and that worked out well.
They paid you.
They stopped paying me. And within a short period of time, I mean, within 3 months, I found a really great job meeting someone at the gas station. And he got me a job. I was making 50 cents an hour at the gas station. And that was the minimum wage, I believe. It was 50 cents. I met someone at the gas station the night that the guy decided to fire me, because he wanted to give the job to his nephew or someone else. So one of the clients who would come put gas there looked at me and said, "You're upset. Why?" I said, "I just got fired." He said, "You get fired? This gas station never seen, never seen it clean and organized since you got here. Before you, it was really a mess. So, are you looking for a job? So, of course, I'm looking for a job. I just got fired. So he asked me a few questions and gave me his card, said, meet me tonight. So I went and met with him tonight, that night at 11 p.m. And he got me a job. And I jumped from 50 cents an hour to 450 an hour
Wow.
overnight.
Wow.
So I believe that every time something happens in your life, don't get mad, don't get sad, don't get stressed out. Something better is awaiting you.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
from living in a civil war to just receiving the spirit that I need to come to the States. So I worked on that myself without my parents knowing, got my student visa, and then got to the States. Even though one job didn't pay me, another job didn't pay me, then job fired me. All of a sudden I jumped, to 450 an hour. That was a lot of money.
That is.
And because at that time I had found a roommate, a friend of mine, and we got an apartment, a two-bedroom apartment for $100 a month.
Yeah.
And I was making $450 an hour. So that's $250 a week.
Yeah.
So I was like, all of a sudden, I'm a millionaire.
Yeah.
So I have faith. I believe that God will always take care of you if you have the right intentions, if you work with ethics. Because when I was working at that gas station, I did everything the best I could. And that gentleman, that client, recognized that without me knowing.
Sure. Yeah.
So recognizing my ethics and what I've done, he offered me a job. And within 3 months at that place, what did they do? There was a machine shop that they did the props for the F-16, F-20, F-20, right?
Yeah.
In 3 months, I was making $10 an hour.
Wow.
So that's how I got started and start making money and saving money and having money and receiving my American dream and doing great with it.
Yeah. Education has been a kind of a big deal. I mean, you're a doctor now. I mean, through, starting at ELS all the way through doctor and, Hollywood producer and all these kinds of things. Now, what's next? Tell us how this all kind of came about.
At first, I wanted to become a pilot.
Okay.
So having making money, I went and found a flying school and got enrolled in becoming a pilot and got my commercial pilot and paid for it myself from the job I had. When I graduated as a commercial pilot, and I did it within a year and a half. At that time, I wanted something fast. I didn't want to go to college 10 years.
Sure. Yep.
I wanted a shortcut, which I don't advise anyone to do.
Yeah.
But when I graduated, I went to get a job, and they said, "Oh, you're not an American U.S. citizen, so we can't give you a job."
Oh.
What a surprise, huh? And Lebanon had war, so I couldn't go back. And while I was going to flying school and working, I used to watch late night television, Johnny Carson, Donahue during the day, and all these talk shows. And they would invite all these actors, directors, writers,
Yes.
and that fascinated me. And within me, I felt I could be a writer. I want to write. I wanted to do that. So what we did, I felt excited that, yes, I want to be a writer. I want to write for Hollywood. But how do I go about it? I picked up the phone, dialed 411, and asked for the phone number for Warner Brothers. That tell you how much I knew, right?
Yeah.
So I got on the phone with Warner Brothers, and whoever answered the phone, I said, "Listen, I want to become a writer." So they said, "Hold on," and they got me from one to another. Eventually, I get someone on the phone, spend half an hour with me, asking me questions and talking. In the end, I learned that I need to go to college to learn how to become a writer so I could go work for these people. And that's what I did. I hung up the phone and then, I went, found a college and enrolled to become, a writer.
Uh-huh.
And while
English.
yes, yes, imagine from someone who didn't speak English and to wanting to learn English to write. That was how I enrolled in college for that. And then while in there taking classes about productions and television and all of that, I found myself, I said, listen, making a movie is easy. Yes. So I recruited a lot of the students and the professor because I was making money,
Uh-huh.
working,
Yeah.
and to do our first film that I financed, which
Okay.
wasn't a lot of money then because it's within the school and within that.
Yes.
And we did and I liked that. I said, wow, I have the talent to put together things. From there, while still in college, I met someone who had written a script called Sledgehammer and wanted, to produce it. So I produced it for them with them. And it was a horror film. And that movie really now it's a classic. 50 years ago.
Wow.
So we did that movie, a horror film. We put it together, and it was in Cannes, it was in London, it was so I traveled with it at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So my first trip to Cannes was in 1982, and at that time there was a big movie distributors named Erwin Shapiro. Wonderful man, wonderful man. So he took me on and taught me what to do and how to do things. So again, things, when you take action, things lead one to another.
Yes. Yes.
Keep leading one to another, and that's what I believe in. You focus, you move, you go forward.
Yeah.
You have ethics. You do it out of, from the bottom of your heart with excitement and great intention. So with Erwin Shapiro, I learned all about distribution and how it works. So that led me to make my next movie. And the next movie, so I produced 8 movies, commercials and other productions within that. And it was really interesting in Hollywood, and it was tough. It wasn't as easy as the story, the way I'm telling it, but it was fun. I was single, and I had, I went through big learning experience, and Hollywood was really a great thing for me to learn all about human psychology, because when you write a script, you need to know psychology. You need to know characters. You need to know different characters, how people think, how people react. Some of us are inverts, some of us are outward, some of us are smile, some of us don't, some of us have great intentions, some of us lead with beautiful spirit, some of us lead with corrupt spirit, right? So I learned a lot all about that in Hollywood. But Hollywood itself wasn't fun. I knew it was somehow it wasn't for me, even though I wanted to make it big, and I was climbing the ladder because it takes 10 years to really learn any skill. I got there young, at age 21. I was there,
Yep.
so I was there very young, making movies and learning and all of that, until one day I got really successful and started making multiple movies. I got a chance to make multiple movies at the same time. So I met these group who came along to wanted to partner with me, and then wanted to buy my production company. And we agreed on a price and everything. And there were 3 bankers, Bank of Beverly Hills, Bank of Los Angeles, and Bank of Cyprus, 3 banks. And but in the end, their intention wasn't the right intention. So they were not doing it ethically. That got my company in trouble because in the end, they didn't bring the financing. But at that time, we depended on that financing. So we got in trouble. I got like 46 lawsuits.
Oh.
Yeah, at that time. and led to my stress. And then I became literally homeless and lost everything because of that deal, Uh, from having all the beautiful cars and beautiful homes and beautiful everything to being outcasted and canceled because of that deal went sour and didn't come true. So, and that got me really, really depressed and suicidal. The 4th of July weekend. And I was all alone. Now I'm living at a borrowed house, like house sitting someone, driving a rented car by a friend, and spending gas on another friend's credit card just to survive.
Yep.
I got really, really depressed, and now don't know what to do. Many lawsuits, just to a point of suicide. Thinking about it, say what life is all about. Usually July 4th, I'm invited to different parties, friends. No one called me. So now I'm all alone. And if I called some suppose then the friends, to borrow some money, everyone hung up, and I couldn't even get $100, right? Nothing. Before that, within a few days before that, or a few weeks, a cousin of mine I met, who's a doctor. He's a gynecologist, who was a Don Juan. I mean, he was a ladies' man when I knew him, and I haven't seen him for a while. So I run into him, and I saw him totally different. I said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, it's Jesus Christ." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Yeah, now my life changed. I'm married. I have kids. I have beautiful life." And so he gave me a Bible, and he said, "Can I pray with you?" I said, "Sure, you can pray. What's the big deal?" So he prayed with me, and I left. A few days later, I had a dream, and I usually have an occurring dream. I fly in my dream. It was a beautiful dream. I've always asked others if they can interpret it. Everyone had different interpretation. But that dream was on for like years and years. I would dream at the same dream, fly in my dream. That evening, after I met my cousin, I had the same dream. But this time, as I'm flying, I lost power right in the middle of in space. I lost power. I couldn't maneuver any longer. So losing that power, now I am diving down without power, and just I knew I was crashing. And as I got closer to the ground, I knew it's the end. That's it. I'm gonna die. Right before I kiss the dust, a hand comes from this side, grabs me, and lifts me up, saves me, and lifts me up. And now I'm back up flying. And I looked to my side to see who it was, and it was Jesus Christ. Didn't say a word, just held me by my arm, and we flew together like that. And it felt so great. So I woke up feeling awesome. Wow. And I started asking myself, at that time, I lived in Malibu, right? So I used to jog the beach every day. So here I am, like jogging, asking God, what do you want from me? You want me to be a priest? Do you want me to be this, that? I really couldn't. So that was the beginning. That day, that's when I got the offer from these bankers to take the company over. And I didn't understand that dream until July 4th. Now I'm there all by myself, suicidal, depressed, just really don't know what's going to happen. And I was so tired. I got up. I felt I needed to sleep. And I looked up. I said, I give up. I leave it up to you. I'm done. I went to sleep. And at 1 a.m., that was the time I went to sleep. While sleeping, and I went to deep sleep, I got tapped right here 3 times. But I wanted to ignore it because I thought, someone is trying to serve me. And then again 3 times, and this time with a voice say, "Get up, I have changed your life." So I got up, and it was Jesus Christ. And I felt something get out of my body, got out like really dark, all that stress and yucky feeling I had. And something else was replaced with it. I felt it coming in that brought joy. I couldn't understand it, joy within me. So that joy right away, I knew that my life has changed, and I knew I'm going to be okay and everything's going to be fine. So starting that evening, then Jesus says, I want you to repent on paper everything that all your sins. So I sat there and wrote them down. And then he told me to burn them. I burned them. And then he says, anything you ask of me, I will give you. So I got on my knees. I said, Lord, all I want is just get me out of the trouble I'm in. I don't want anything else. And that's what happened. Within 6 months, people came to my life and just resolved all the issues I was in. And I had promised that I'll walk away from Hollywood. I'll never make a movie again. Because while in Hollywood, I wasn't the person I needed to be. In Hollywood, yes, the check is in the mail, I'll meet you Monday, you never show up, and so on. It's all like non-BS, just to get a deal done. So that was over, and within 6 months, I delivered the last movie I was making, and cleansed everything that I was in, and walked away from Hollywood. Within a few months now, I start asking in my prayer, what do I do now? Because that's all I know what to do. What do I do now? Until one day, he showed me that I need to meet this guy who's a naturopathic doctor. I was in the car. I was listening to a radio, and I was driving down Sepulveda Boulevard to Culver City. And at the stoplight, at that time, we had the flip phone when it first came out, a Motorola. So I'm listening to this guy on the radio, the naturopath. Then a voice came over and said, give him a call. That's you. So I called the guy up. I said, hey, I'm listening to the radio. Say, yeah, it's me. I said, I'd like to meet you. He gave me his address, and I looked to my right side, and I was right in front of his space in the car. So I pull in, walk in, and he's a was a very famous naturopathic doctor in Hollywood. So he became my guru and showed me what to do. So I enrolled back in college and became a naturopath, studied to become a naturopathic doctor. And after I was done, I started practicing and became a naturopath. And in 1994, 96, I started my first clinic in Beverly Hills. And that was the new beginning of my beautiful life.
I know you shared bits and pieces of this on our sailboat trip in Sicily, but I didn't have this kind of full version of it. It's just an amazing story.
It's been wonderful. I tell you, I will not exchange it for anything. It's been wonderful. It's been beautiful. And becoming a naturopath, I started realizing the talent I have for it, and bringing healing to people, bringing a new way of. So I started traveling. I went to Russia, went to China, went to Turkey, wherever there is natural healing. Went to Ukraine, went to many different countries, to Malaysia, to see, to learn more and see all the practices out there and different. So I adopted a lot of knowledge from different cultures and different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And that added a lot to my base and foundation of how to bring healing to others. Because what happened to me is the night Jesus showed up for me, prior to that, I was not only miserable psychologically and feeling wise, but physically, I wasn't doing well. I had a stomach cancer. A stomach ulcer. My brother died with a stomach cancer. So I had a stomach ulcer for 12 years. and I was on Tagamet all these years, and I had many issues, migraine headaches, and I was on steroids all the time to feel better.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing well at all, and all these medication, all these doctors couldn't help me. 12 years and popping up pills and all of that. And that night, when Jesus showed up, I was healed of all of this. So I dumped all the medication I was taking, which is a box full. And within 30 days, I was a brand new man. Everything, physically, healing, spiritually, mindfully, I was a brand new man. And that gave me the faith also to pursue, because also Jesus led me to that. So becoming a naturopath, that was a big thing. And when even I didn't know where is going to lead. All I know, I studied it. But when I started traveling, I realized that the world is in need of it. So I started in Beverly Hills, but Lebanon at that time had finished the Civil War, right? So I got there to visit, and I found that the people are sick there, especially stressed, and so I decided to help out, just to help out, because I wasn't there during the war and people need it. So I launched something there to help the women, get off all these depression medication.
Yes.
Because, during the war and bombs and killing, people become depressed.
Yeah.
And launching that it became really big. I mean, really, really big. So all of a sudden, I'm becoming famous. Then other countries, and I got on television, and then I started having my own television programs, radio programs. I was on public television in LA. So, and that helped my business expand, naturopathic business. So I started going from one country to another, and within 8 years, I had 40 countries, a clinic in every country.
Wow.
And then each country started expanding, franchising. So overall, I built more than 400 or 500 clinics.
Wow.
And then I launched my own manufacturing. I would manufacture my own herbal products and supplements, and I created over 600 different products based on what I've learned and what works and what doesn't work. And then I realized, I need to promote it even bigger. So I opened up my own television station, satellite. Called Healthy Entertainment.
Uh-huh.
That broadcasted over the 5 continents, on satellite. So I had the manufacturing, all these clinics, and I was promoting it. Yeah. And so it went really, really great, helping people all over the world. But at that time, I was neglecting myself. I had got married and had children. Now I'm healing the world, but I'm neglecting my family and myself, until I caught a virus in one of those countries and almost killed me. So I was hospitalized with this problem, and they had to operate on me because my heart got infected, and I had a carditis. So that was an awakening call for me, a wake-up call. Right there, I had a vision that I need to get out of this and start doing coaching and spiritual healing instead of the physical healing.
Yeah.
So I started doing that. Before I started doing that, I got to put my company on the market and selling off the television, this, that, the manufacturing. So by 2015, 16, I was able to exit that.
Yeah. And what are you doing today?
Today, I coach people. I'm a healing coach. So I bring different style of coaching to bring healing, not just physical healing, spiritual healing, physical healing, relationship healing, financial healing. Because it's all the same. We have financial problems. That means we have many other problems as well, If you have spiritual problem, it means also we have all others problems. If we have a problem in a relationship, it means we have other problems. If we have a physical problem, it means we have all these problems. So I combined all these issues, financial, spiritual, physical, and a relationship, all into a spiritual way of that can bring a true awakening to the person, and to bring a true healing, and healing on all these elements that I call the transphenomenal element. So what transphenomenal means, it means above and beyond your phenomenal life. So we all live a phenomenal life. Whatever we're experiencing is still phenomenal, because at your age, at my age, at anybody's age, you're still alive and still experiencing life. And pain is good, because it means you are doing something. You're not just, sitting there. And when you become aware that you need others to bring something new to your life, you and I have experienced it as Platts with Tony Robbins and others, because you feel that you do need more knowledge in your life. You need something that someone else had breakthroughs. You would need that, because within you, your subconscious knows that you're at a point, at a threshold, that you need something new to help you get up there, which is above and beyond. But on your own, you can't, because you already been experienced what you experienced, but you need someone else's new experience to help you, push through this threshold. I mean, I've learned that, and we all need it. Like, I know you will help me. I know I will help you. I can help you. So coaching, and I love the word coaching, because it's such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful word, because it can lead to too many things. Because all I'm doing is I'm helping you to discover yourself, what you need to do by me coaching you, just like you coach a basketball player or a tennis player or a football player. They have the talent, but all they need is someone with a new vision to tell them how to veer that talent a few centimeters here, a few millimeters here, take it above, bring new ideas to them that they cannot see themselves.
Yes.
That's what I do right now. I
Yeah.
bring this type of a new healing. I use meditation, and different type of meditation is a guided meditation with Christ, with Jesus Christ. So I use his power, his light, to connect to the person to that meditation. Because I believe there's a lot of meditations out there. I mean, millions, It's all, most of it, when it comes down to healing, they want you to connect to your own power. And I don't think this is right. Why? Because when you connect to your own power, it's limited power. It feels good. It's good to connect to it, but it is limited power. But if you connect to the one power that is real, that has been out there forever, and we know at least 2,000 years, which is from heaven, Jesus Christ energy, power, and you connect to that and you allow it to activate your power and activate everything through you, then much bigger things can happen to your physical body and spiritual body and mental body. And then when you on your own try to tap into your own power, because it's exhausting when you tap into your own power. But when you surrender and you allow Christ's power to work through you, right, which has been proven with millions and billions of others who has done it, right? But all you need is to be guided and coached of how to get it done. And that's what I've learned how to do. Then it can be much more powerful to get you to the next level that you want to be, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, with a relationship. And most of all, because we're all after what? We're all after happiness, right? We want to be happy. Well, actually, we want to feel the joy. That's what we want to feel. We don't want to be happy. We want to feel the joy. But everyone's after happiness, pursuit of happiness. Well, that joy, the happiness can come and go. You buy a car, you're happy. The car, a few months later, it's a regular car. It's no longer, so, you become dull about it. But when you have a joy, the joy can be there all the time forever.
But Nicolas, you've had an amazing life, this amazing journey. We appreciate you sharing everything. If someone wanted to be coached by you, I mean, that's one of the things that Tony Robbins said is that, the high performance people have coaches. And I really believe in that. Tony Robbins has coaches. And, if you're in listening in our audience and you're a high performance person and some of the things that Nicolas talked about resonate for you, how would someone reach out to you to be able to talk with you and possibly be coached by you?
My email is simple, is Nicolas, Nicolas, at the number 4, wisdoms with SWISDOMS.com. Nicolas at 4wisdoms.com.
Okay. I'm sure that there's a story behind the 4 wisdoms, but unfortunately we're out of time here. So maybe we'll have you a guest in the future. But Dr. Nicolas Kimaz, it's been such a pleasure and honor. And I didn't even talk about that on our boat. I called you John Gotti because we were in Sicily in mafia country.
I enjoyed spending time with you and the other friends so much. When you go on a trip, especially that trip was 14 days.
Yes.
It wasn't just a few trips. And like you said, we were in such a small space on that sailing boat. To have such people and friends that you're so comfortable with.
Yes.
It really brought the joy to a level that is unbelievable. So I'm honored to have spent that time with you, and I look forward to spending more time and maybe different trips and all of that. I really enjoyed it, and I enjoyed you, and I enjoyed your ethics and presence and what you brought to the trip. I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Nicolas. We've got a trip to the Philippines and Bali coming up January 21st. 5th. So join us on that. In the meantime, it was such an honor and pleasure to have you here. Thank you very much, and have a beautiful, beautiful rest of the year here.
Thank you, and God bless you and bless your podcast. And thank you for inviting me.